Hi, it's me, the anti-black Barbie, the all-watchful eye of anti-blackness. So, before I get started, I just want to say that I loved this movie. It is so charming, so warm. It just gives me so much nostalgia from like the early 2000s, and I highly recommend it if you are on the fence about watching it. If you're not aware what Noah's Ark is, it's basically a show that debuted around 2005 that follows the lives of five queer black men and the struggles that they have to face in their daily lives. The movie that I'm reviewing basically highlights what they've been going through since the show debuted, while still covering some of the few things that they plan on doing in the future. So, being able to see these characters after so many years really is just such a pleasure. When we were originally introduced to these characters almost 20 years ago, they were very immature, very combative, just extremely impulsive. But in the movie, they do a really great job of highlighting their growth and their maturity. And they just do a really good job of putting them into positive positions where they're able to bridge the gap to the next generation. I'm a little bit upset at myself for almost not even watching it. I'm sure if you have followed me on Twitter, you probably know what I'm alluding to is that there is this tweet that came out a few months ago, and basically it just highlighted that a large portion of the cast had non-black partners or non-black children. And I'm not even gonna lie to you, it really did sting because I was really excited to watch the movie originally and to find out that so many members on a cast with just so much positive black imagery still felt the need to seek out non-black partners was a bit of a blow. And truthfully, I pondered on if whether or not I should watch this for several days because I think so many of us just so desperately want black representation where there are people who are willing to do the things that we need them to do and to say the things that we need them to say. But it's like if every single time you turn around and you look into these personal lives and see that it's not reflecting the behavior that they're saying online or in movies or in music, then you're going to start to question, is any of this real? Is any of this authentic? Do people see value in me for things outside of what I can do for them? And it's a dangerous place to be mentally, but that's just where we are. And I just had to really sit back and really reflect on what I want for the future. And I just kind of came to the conclusion that it is important for me to watch this because it's much bigger than four or five actors just wanting to play in snow. This is an entire black production with a black writer, over 20 plus years of positive black imagery being pushed. So for me, the only logical explanation was to get that 7-day free trial on Paramount Plus and grab my popcorn. So one of my first observations is that the budget is incredible. From the fashion to the celebrity appearances to the choreography. I mean, it's just they put so much time and money into this show, and it really does translate on the screen. I was only a few minutes in and I was just so impressed by how well they captured how beautiful their home was, whether it was the interior or the outside. There's so many personal details and touches within the movie that I feel like are typically missing in a lot of others. I think they put so much thought into the scenery, the backgrounds, what people wore. It's just very, very well done all around. And I think that these things typically kind of go overlooked, but when you put these attention to details into these movies, it gives you a better understanding of who these people really are. Another thing that I really enjoyed was the tone of the movie. I think that it was just so positive and it felt like a very transformative experience where they're really trying to flesh people's characters out and take them on a journey and show personal growth. One good example of this is there's a drag queen in the movie and they have a daughter who is a trans woman and they have just very two different experiences in life. And there's just like a lot of very conflicting themes that happen. But ultimately, there is a very great resolution where the two kind of get to really understand each other that I really appreciated. And I also just really enjoyed the fact that they also put in a trans woman in the movie because I think a lot of the times they get erased from media, especially when gay men are present. So I thought that that was just another great touch and addition to the movie as well. I feel like what sets this movie apart from a lot of other movies is that it is able to touch on themes like illnesses, violence, femphobia, homophobia, without it just getting too dark. I think that they do a great job of allowing their characters to have a certain amount of joy and happiness in between their adversity. And that is what I really appreciate the most because I think we have a lot of people who are like Tyler Perry, where it's just, one scene after the other, and it's just so overwhelming that you just can barely process what just happened. But I think that this movie just does such a great job of allowing the characters to have a variety of different emotions and feelings and experiences as well, which I found myself very much appreciating. This movie is so important because I feel like a lot of Black queer people really have resigned themselves to thinking that they're just going to be alone forever and living out the rest of their lives miserable, where we should really be having more media where there's more older Black queer men, going through relationships, going through marriages, having children, because this is a very real thing. But I feel like because we are so accustomed to the negativity that goes online and the lack of representation that we kind of forget that it is a thing. And my final thing is I just really enjoyed the interactions, whether it was from a relationship standpoint, whether it was from a friendship standpoint. The characters really were very thoughtful in the way that they spoke to each other. They really listened to each other. If one of them had a problem with the way that another did something, typically there wasn't a lot of gaslighting from the other person. They would just listen to what's being said, receive it, and move on. And I just feel like we just don't see enough of that in a lot of media these days. It's always somebody who just has to be right or has to get one up on the other. Very rarely do people just listen to how others may have interpreted what they may have done and just say, okay, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have done it this way, or I apologize if this is how I may have made you feel. It's so I just really, really adored that. So if I had to rank this movie, I would give it a 10 out of 10. They had my girls living a soft life. They had them making career moves. They had them turning up late into their 40s as they should, living their best life. So I am just so here for that. And I hope that this movie is a stepping stone for other Black queer writers or production studios to potentially get a chance, because we deserve so much more representation. And I think that this is a really great example of what we could achieve. So that being said, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you in the next one.